Stanley Park this morning, Blackpool's underrated, some would say forgotten, Edwardian bustle. 260 odd acres of mature Grade 2 listed trees, smoky lakes, hours through the looking glass gardens, sensual woods, annoying squirrels and confused looking grockles, who've accidentally wandered from the gaudy sideshows of the Permatan seafront, designed in the 1920s by Thomas Mawson. Who, you might be asking? Thomas Mawson, I've just told you. Stanley Park's got a clock tower somewhere in the middle of it, dedicated to William Cocker, Blackpool's first mayor. Or William Stocker, as Derek Acora once claimed on an episode of Most Haunted. Because apparently, spirits get confused about their own names sometimes when they possess people. Must be all the ether they've consumed. The park's got tennis courts, or at least it had, designed for salad days. It's got a couple of replica Medici lions, segueing the entrance of the Art Deco cafe and the Italian Renaissance gardens. Originally destined for the promenade, donated by John McGee in 1926. That's John McGee. I haven't got a clue who he is either. Look him up if you're that concerned. There used to be a number of shepherdess statues surrounding the fountain, until a few years ago when somebody nicked them, presumably to melt them down as scrap. The albatross, or whatever it was in the fountain's centre, had its head broken off at one point and replaced back to front. The head's still missing. Stanley Park's popular with vandals. They did for the statue of Charlie Caroli in the Rose Garden so often that eventually the council had it removed and placed in Blackpool Tower instead, which, to be honest, makes more sense anyhow. The park sports a 5,000-seat cricket ground behind a high wall, generally occupied by 5 snoring enthusiasts during the more important matches, where Deborah Contessa's son, who's a copper apparently, so a more than credible witness, saw a ghost dressed in old-fashioned yellow fisherman's oilskins. There's an amphitheatre near the lake with a Mary Poppins-style bandstand in it, complete with copper dome and entablature, which is probably some sort of weevil, where we spent a lot of our younger days getting drunk on special brew and white lightning cider, homemade snake bites. You can't beat 'em. The steps are designed to accommodate 2,500 music enthusiasts, although generally they're occupied by 2 fat ducks and 1 passed-out drunk. On the opposite corner of the lake stand the boathouses and the all-important ice cream kiosk, from the former of which you can hire pedalo's motorboats and life rings if you fall in. Central to Stanley Park is the fantastically preserved ziggurat-fronted Art Deco cafe, a building almost as formidable as the revolting beef sandwiches it serves, with original vent covers, mahogany doors, and the sort of tall, steel-framed windows that'd make an ideal setting for a Beatles video. The park also boasts an 18-hole golf course designed by Alistair Mackenzie. Don't ask. I don't know, I'm getting all this stuff off Wikipedia. And a model village, which we couldn't be bothered filming because it costs £9.95 to get in, and they don't accept Monopoly money, as it turns out. Let's have some history. In the late 1870s, Blackpool Council agreed that an outdoor attraction designed to appeal to all ages and classes was required to enhance the town. To be fair, a bomb crater would have enhanced the town, but let's not quibble. True to form, they procrastinated, much like Tory MP Neil Parish did in the House of Commons recently. And it wasn't until the 1920s, after the purchase of land from Albert Lindsay Parkinson, T.M. Watson, William Lawson and John Bickerstaff. You're going to have to check this lot out for yourselves if you're that interested. They're just random names to me. I've lost track of what I was saying now. Anyhow, apparently the land previously consisted of the most heterogeneous collection of henruns, pigsties, stagnant ponds, caravan dwellings and stables we have ever come across. The buildings were of temporary nature, margarine boxes, tea chests, biscuit tins and petrol cans being pressed into service for walls and roofing material. A bit like the posh end of Pilling then. To cut a long story short, Stanley Park was opened on the 2nd of October 1926 by the 17th Earl of Derby, after whom it was named. I'm descended from the Stanleys on my mother's side. I inherited all of the Stanley diseases such as epilepsy and gout, but predictably none of their wealth. Back to the travel log and the ghosts of my youth, when 3 acres worth of conservatories and glasshouses could be found next to Stanley Park's main entrance. These glasshouses made excellent retreats on snowbound winter days, when the tropical conditions required to keep the plants alive provided the perfect succour for local winos and vagrants. They're gone now, deemed structurally unsound in 2012 after those much-touted vandals had been at it again. We'd better mention the Crown bowling greens, or possibly ex-bowling greens. The moles seem to like them. There we go, we've mentioned them now, so let's move on. Back in the 1970s, it was possible to climb the clock tower, originally designed as a war memorial by Lionel Budden in 1926, with 2 bronze lion-head drinking fountains, which don't work nowadays either. You can't climb it anymore, unless you're a snail. In accordance with modern times, there's a trim trail near the lake. We didn't film it because we couldn't be bothered walking that far. Besides, a trim trail meant something completely different when I was young, and we won't bother repeating it here because this is a family film. Also in accordance with modern convention, the swans have bird flu. Enough! It's time to pack up the picnic, spit out the gristle sandwich, chuck your butty wrappers in the lake and head off home. Click like, subscribe, and we'll be back again with another episode of Lancashire Footnotes as soon as we can.